Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be comparing the old Tacoma to the new one. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Chevy here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with this 2023 Tacoma. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out both their new and pre-owned inventory. If you have any questions, just ask for Nick. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering the old Tacoma is a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 278 horsepower and then 265 pound-feet of torque, with fuel economy being roughly in the high teens. And then powering the new Tacoma is a turbo 2.4 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 278 horsepower and then 317 pound-feet of torque, with fuel economy being in the low 20s. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the previous gen Tacoma, I do need to say this one is a Tier D off-road package, whereas the new one is a limited, so this is a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison, but it's the best I could do because it was actually really hard for me to even find this. There's not a lot of previous gen Tacomas available that are relatively low miles. Anyways, really cool headlight design. You can see the fog lights down below, and I mean, this design's been out forever. With the new one, it looks kind of like a mini Tundra. It has a more modern look, but now seeing these side by side, I wouldn't necessarily say that the new one looks better. I'd say that they just look different. Now around the side here with the old one, our turn wheel setup is 265/70, 16 in the front and over in the rear. You guys can see here with the wheels, pretty cool design here. And then this is lifted a little bit because again, it's the Tier D off-road. But you got those big chunky fender flares, you got the fixed side steps. And here is your full side view with the truck so you guys can see the stance. Now with the new one, our turn wheel setup is 265/65, 18 in the front and over in the rear. So bigger wheels. And then you guys can see here with the new fender flare design painted, very interesting looking. Limited badge. This one has power side steps, which is pretty cool. And then here is your full side view on the new one. Now the previous gen Tacoma utilized leaf springs, whereas the new one has a coil suspension setup, kind of hard to see, but it has it. Now taking a look at the bed of the new Tacoma, you can see composite bed from the factory. We've got LED lights here, got a full outlet as well. And this is kind of cool. But yeah, definitely practical. And then this one has a fancy new power up tailgate. Yeah. The old one also has a composite bed, as you can see. And it looks like this one actually has a slightly longer bed than the new one. So this is the longer bed Tacoma. Again, apples to oranges comparison, best that I could do. Got an outlet there. And then with this tailgate, you gotta use your muscles. And it is heavy, that is for sure. But you guys can see here with all of the logos and badges on the back versus the new one. I mean, kind of a similar theme, but definitely a different look. Again, this looks more like the new Tundra, whereas this is kind of its own thing. Now, in the back seat of the new Tacoma, you guys can see kind of the space here, cramped, but that's typical for mid-size pickup truck. And then we've got some nice trim here on the door panel. USBs there in the center. And then, yeah, these seats are nice, perforated all down the center, kind of a fancy look. And then headroom, it's good. Now, space here in the old Tacoma seems to be relatively the same compared to the new one. And then you guys can see a little bit more utilitarian with the design. And then I like this with the seats, easy to clean, definitely practical. And then headroom back here, about the same. And let's start her up with the new one. So you guys can see with the door panel, again, more of that kind of nice trim. Again, very similar style to the new Tundra. We got 1,200 pounds of payload with this. Close her up. Got a bunch of controls here on the side. Big one is for the power side steps. You can turn them off, which I have them turned off. Now this steering wheel is basically the same design as the new Tundra. So you got like your adaptive cruise control, volume controls, all of that. Big digital gauge cluster here in the center, which you can use to see the different drive modes here with the new Tacoma. We got this 360 camera system as well. Really big view, really good resolution. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, I would say response time with it is decent. It does take a second for some of the pages to load up. We got dual zone climate. We got heated and ventilated seats with this limited package, wireless phone charging pad. You can see the shifter, like that's straight out of the new Tundra. And then we do have 2-speed transfer case still. And then notice we got like your auto hold there, and then storage here in the center. Got this grab handle. And And then with the glove box, pretty decent storage. I like how it says Tacoma there. This actually is a camera rear view mirror too. And then we do have a sunroof and then power sliding rear window. And let's start up the old one. Also, look at the door panel. And then payload on this one, 940 pounds. So quite a bit less payload on the old one. And then you can see you've got shortcut buttons here for like the camera, stability control, all of that. And yeah, steering wheel. Definitely a throwback. But you still have adaptive cruise control and all of that. And then you can see mostly analog gauge cluster. And then this one actually is a 360 camera system, just like the new one. Resolution's not nearly as good. The screen view is not nearly as big. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system itself, again, it is an infotainment system, but it's definitely a lot more old school in terms of the functionality. Still have dual zone climate, still have heated seats, no ventilated seats with this package. 2-speed transfer case into the ECT power sliding rear window as well. And then we got the storage here, and then I think this one, yeah, wireless phone charging pad. Shifter there for the 6-speed, and then the whole center console setup. Glove box lid kind of does the same wiggle thing. The new one wiggles a lot more, I will say that. Nice padding there on the dash. And then we do have a sunroof with this. And then being the Tier D off-road, it's got the off-road stuff like the rear locking differential, crawl control, all of that. But the new Tier D off-road, if this was one, would have all of that too. Now, when it comes to pricing, this Limited, I don't have a window sticker for it because it's a pre-production truck, but it starts at over $53,000 for the Limited package. There's been a huge price increase with the new Tacoma. This one is a Tier D off-road with the premium package. It's got all the goodies. So it would have stickered for about, I think like $47,000-ish. Let me know in the comment section below if I'm off, but I'm pretty sure about $47,000. So yeah, definitely a price increase, but let's drive them back to back and see how they perform. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors do have blind spot ring for the rest of the rear. And let's not run into a Nissan Leaf. Let's set off in the old Taco and then drive the new Taco. I am going to have some very strong open onions in today's video. I already know because I've been driving that new Tacoma all day, and I just jumping into this instantly felt a difference. And excuse me, we'll talk about that. We will talk about that. But initially setting off, 3.5 liter V6, sluggish as ever. But you know, you don't buy the Tacoma because it's fast. You buy it because it's reliable. That is the truth. But yeah, suspension's comfortable. Seats, you know, they're not the most uncomfortable on the planet, but these, I remember that, yeah, these seats are kind of a little bit on the harder side of things. It's so weird to me because like the 4Runner is such a comfortable vehicle from a suspension standpoint. The 5-speed performs so much better than the 6-speed, and the seats are more comfortable. Made by the same company. It's just weird that, yeah, they did the 4Runner so well, and then with the Tacoma, I mean, I think it's still done well, but I don't think it's done as well as the 4Runner in terms of, yeah, the whole setup and everything. But yeah, nice drive, I will say that. Nice drive. We just have people standing in the middle of the parking lot. My goodness, I don't know what's happening here, but we'll keep going. I'll have more driving in the new Tacoma. Kind of going to focus on that with today's video. But yeah, basically this feels like a well-built, and it is a reliable vehicle. The Tacoma's been proven to be reliable, so it feels like a well-built, reliable vehicle. Just not the fastest, not the most exciting to drive. And you know, I wish they would have kept the 4.0 V6 and the 5-speed in the Tacoma with this generation, because that just was, it's a much better powertrain setup for this pickup truck. Just the extra torque you get out of the 4.0 and the 5-speed, just with how that's geared, it seems like it performs better than this. But let's go pop into the new one and see how it is. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here on the new Tacoma. Here's visibility over the hood, both the mirrors, both the rest of the rear. Similar visibility overall. Actually, got to make sure I have my camera still. Okay, we are officially good to go. So right off the bat, you know, engine transmission in this, you instantly feel that this is just a more livable setup. More torque, and it doesn't do the, even at low speeds, the old Tacoma just has kind of a weird feel with the gear hunting and everything, and this just doesn't have any of that. And it's smooth, like the powertrain's smooth, really good delivery. So when you compare powertrains, this one objectively performs better. When it comes to suspension, this does feel more planted. With that coil suspension in the back, it does kind of have that more planted feel on the ground, which I think that's a big plus if you ask me. So yeah, nice smooth feel overall. Yeah, and just good torque all throughout. And then, you know, when it comes to seats, these seats are a little bit more comfortable in the new one. So that's another plus with it. So far when it comes to the driving dynamics, I don't know if that's worth it going through there. Looks like something's happening up there, so I'm gonna, yeah. But as I was saying, when it comes to driving dynamics, the new one, it seems as though it drives just as well as the previous gen and better in some respects. Like I don't think there's any downside when it comes to the driving dynamics with the new one compared to the old one. And yeah, just tons of torque, really good torque with this. Yeah, you know what this is? Sorry, I'll go this way. I'm trying to think of the driving route I'm doing, because it looks like usually there's not traffic like this, but it looks like it's kind of backed up all over. I wonder what's happening down here. But yeah, back to kind of like the review side of things. Chaos. I think that the new Tacoma, again, is objectively better, but, and here is my big but with the new Tacoma, it doesn't feel like it's built better. Like, again, this is a pre-production truck, but just the trim pieces, it doesn't feel as tight as the previous version, because they're doing this weird design stuff. I mean, look at the glove box, for goodness sakes. And so, again, I understand pre-production truck, but I've also reviewed a full production Tacoma already, and it had all the same stuff that I've felt in here. So even though this is a pre-production truck, it doesn't really feel too off from what I saw in the full production truck. So here's my take. I don't know how reliable this powertrain is going to be, but Toyota's had it out for a little bit, and it seems like it's done pretty well so far. So if the powertrain is reliable, I would take the powertrain from the new Tacoma, I would take the suspension from the new Tacoma, but I would 100% take the interior from the old Tacoma. I think that interior just, it feels much better built. I understand the new tech in this and everything. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it just, the old one inside just feels like a better built truck. Let me know your thoughts on old versus new, and let me know if you'd go old or new with the Tacoma.